Will you escape? No, that flashlight's on. Rose.
Since the last video on Juke, a lot of people have come to me sharing their experiences. Many simply just weird or edging on the border of becoming illegal. However, this video is going to change everything. As you remember from the last video, I only had a few screenshots from an unspecified victim. Now, that same victim has come forward with more evidence and has handed me the entire chat log, with a conversation spanning from roughly the middle of October 2021 all the way until the middle of January 2022. So many things in this chat log are unbelievably disgusting. Not to the level of Andrew, wherein Andrew was just a weird fetishist who partook in many disgusting acts, but as far as I know, never really acted on it outside of chat logs, other than the you-know-what incident from the video. Juke is an entirely different story, so if you want to hear the whole thing, stay tuned. I will be explaining screenshots and different things as they come out, as well as a segment at the end dedicated to some of the things that happened when Juker and I talked over Discord about the whole thing. So, stay tuned. Before we begin, I need to say two things plus a little side note before we get into the actual chat log. First of all, do not blame the victim for any of the behavior from them in this video. A lot of you guys from the Andrew Files video were like, well, the victim, he's screwed up too. No one cares. Shut up. The kid is 14 years old and doesn't deserve to be told how they're behaving. That's up to them and their family to decide. Same goes here. If I see a single fucking comment saying, well, this kid kinda asked for it, I'm fucking deleting you and hiding you from the channel. Second of all, please spread this video around. A mission I ask for all of you is to put this in a Discord server of people you think would know about the situation. Make sure this video gets out there. I don't want Juke to escape ever again. The last video did a lot of damage, but I want this one to do so much more. And that final thing I was mentioning, you're going to see a lot of screenshots, obviously, where instead of having an avatar, it'll just say literally the word avatar. For some reason, the program that we used to get the chat logs didn't record avatars. I don't really know. It doesn't matter because Juke changes his avatar literally like once a day. So hopefully that shouldn't be too much of a problem for you guys watching. Since these chat logs are so long, I'm going to be going through them in roughly chronological order, but it may take a while to point out all the quote-unquote interesting things. Starting with the beginning of the conversation, we can see there was at least a little bit of conversation here and then in about August of 2021, but they really didn't start talking till the 18th of October 2021, where the victim said, I understand the rules, blah blah blah, let me in relation to Juker's Discord server. And Juke playfully says there, and they kind of do some more exchanging at this point, but immediately there seems to be some deleted chat or something in between here, but the victim says, thanks, also the joke is blue plus orange makes brown. And the Juke said, oh, LMFAO, wait, show me yours, relating to, I guess, Fursona. With the victim saying, I don't have any actual art showing the maw, sadly. Which, if you didn't know, maw is essentially the mouth of usually an anthropomorphic animal, in this case. And then the victim saying, but I have this with their Fursona that will obviously be blacked out. And Juke saying, oh, cute, I have 2 maw pics. Not really something you say to a 16-year-old, but, you know. But, clearly, he understands this is quite a weird thing to tell a 16-year-old, saying, I don't know, answer this, how old are you, LMAO? With the victim responding, okay, maybe you shouldn't, because I'm 16. So Juke, clearly with premonitions, decided to ignore his prior advice after Juke said, well, it doesn't show anything, just a maw, LMAO, with the miner saying, sure, sure. And Juke saying, I'm serious, and they just had this weird playful banter until Juke says, I'm serious, it's quite literally just an open maw, with the victim saying, so send it, nerd, and then Juke happily obliges. For those of you unaware, maw is like a weird fetish. It's not exactly not safe for work or porn related. However, it kind of bridges into this area and it isn't necessarily taboo. It's also kind of based in porn. So clearly he shouldn't have been sending this to a 16-year-old with very little thought afterwards. After Juke was done streaming this night, we get our first sense of how quickly this relationship spiraled out of control, where they already start doing a little bit of ERP, or erotic roleplay. Juke saying, hee hee, come on, you can cuddle with me, and then the victim saying, that sounds really nice right now. This pillow isn't very warm or fluffy, with this 22-year-old man saying, I am both of those things, surprisingly. And here we see the beginning of the erotic roleplay, with Juke saying, heh, cutie, rubs the back of your head and down your back softly, which, if that wasn't bad enough, within literally like 30 minutes, it has already gotten sexual, with Juke saying something I'm not going to enunciate because that's disgusting, with the victim saying, I sit on your lap, leaning down to lick, and then Juke saying, wow. If you couldn't see where this shit was going, we can clearly see the direction it's heading in now, with Juke saying, I bite my lip hard as I rear my head back and grip your head, pressing your snout deeper against my musky crotch. With the victim replying, I close my eyes, sniffing deeply as I start to lick, with Juke saying, fuck yeah. And skipping ahead, because frankly I really hate looking at this shit, within 12 hours of Juke, a 22-year-old man, meeting a 16-year-old minor, he is already erotically roleplayed with this minor, saying, I thrust once more and release a powerful load of my seed down your throat, moaning loudly, my tail wagging, with the victim saying, I gulp it all down happily, whimpering and moaning, with Juke saying, I rest my head back, panting as my cock throbs in your maw. If you've ever seen Juke try and defend his actions by saying, I was drunk, well, here's something that kind of just throws all that shit out the window. You can see afterwards, he's saying, drunk Juke just likes RPing a lot more than sober Juke, but then literally like half a minute later saying, well, considering I reread it this morning and still got turned on while sober, it'd be safe to assume it was good. Although for time's sake, I'm not going to show when it happened the second time. At around the same time, the next day, they ERP'd basically the same shit, and it goes to show how quickly Juker fell for this 16-year-old just because they happened to ERP with each other. October 24th would prove to be quite an eventful day for this relationship, where, as the logs go, Juke sent his first nudes to this 16-year-old kid. Before we get to that, though, I just want to point out some other weird things that happened leading up to this. Well, not weird, just overtly sexual. With the victim saying, don't underestimate my thighs though, with Juke saying, fuck, I want to see them, with the victim replying, you'll see them soon, and one day these thighs will be around your head, with Juke saying, fuck, sit on my face please. And we'll see as this chat goes on, Juke has this really weird fetish with this idea of a 16-year-old moving in and actively living with him, and having apparently quite regular sexual intercourse, by saying, in response to the minor asking if they could exchange nudes, Juke saying, alrighty, I suppose I won't have the need for him if we're living together, hee hee. Juke then, being in the mood, says, I love you too, I'm trying to take a good pic, with the victim saying a bunch of key smashes and saying, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, and then Juke insisting, saying, no, I want to, with the minor saying a bunch of H's and saying, I love you, and Juke saying, haven't gotten around to shaving because it grows back hella fast when I do, I forgot, and then sending a picture of his frankly disgusting genitals. After some more verbal foreplay, let's just say, he then sent a picture of his genitals as well as his ejaculate at the same time. Obviously, you can probably understand what I mean by that. In case you weren't convinced that this was actually Juke, this might change your mind. And before I show the image, trust me, there's a lot more smoking guns coming. Juke posted his private Twitch analytics and sent it to this minor over Discord. You can clearly see this is from him, talking about his stream duration, average viewers, etc. And then, 6 days later, we have actually another smoking gun, and you saw this in the preview, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here. Juke sent a video of him masturbating to this minor that is almost 30 seconds long, which includes some of the props you see regularly in his stream, as well as what looks to be a stream deck. Just in case you weren't convinced this is real, here's a 10-second sound clip. If you want to skip it, go to this timestamp. Trust me, it gets quite a bit worse as we get later on. However, just a little bit later, we see Juke getting really excited over the victim calling him their boyfriend. And Juke saying, quote, "You're my boyfriend." It's like, ah. And then the victim saying, "But you are," with Juke saying, "I know, and I can't wait to be your husband." And then replying 2 hours later, hugs you and rubs your back, "Hey babe, you okay?" Now, beginning something quite disturbing, although I promise you it's not anything disgusting in the way that Andrew was. It gets incredibly disturbing very quickly, where Juke somehow pulls the most classic Chris Hansen move ever, saying, "Fine, I'll tell you. You ready?" With the victim saying, "Yeah." And then Juke responded with, "Okay, what if I were to tell you that sometime next week I might, come over with this fucking weird little otter thing or whatever?" They then basically commit broad daylight robbery, wherein Juke asks the victim to ask their mom for permission. Juke then begins to scheme, trying to convince the victim to tell their mom that Juke himself is indeed 19 instead of 22. Clearly, the victim's mom has a lot of negative ideas about this experience and wants to make sure that her child is as safe as possible. You'll see later why this next screenshot is so important. There's an image attachment that's not being shown, where basically the victim's mother gives her half agreement for this to move forward, with Juke saying, "Poggers," and then saying, "Haha," with the victim saying, "Bow to get railed," and then with Juke clearly alluding to that same thing, saying, "Imagine next weekend, like, if I could come over and they weren't there." And again, the metaphorical ghost of Chris Hansen contacted Juke in a dream, where he decided to text the victim, "I had a nightmare. I showed up and texted you I was there. The door opened and you just stood there and started laughing. You told me I was so stupid for actually believing you, that this was all just to get me there so I'd be caught. And I woke up and it was like 3 p.m. and that nightmare replayed like 3 times. Funny thing about dreams rarely play out like real life. In hindsight, they might behave that way, but if you ever think about it, when you have a fresh dream, how much of it truly makes sense? What I see here is Juke actually testing the water. Testing the water to see if somehow the victim's gonna go, "Ah, shit, he got me." When obviously, through the chat logs, it's been going on for almost a month at this point, that's not the case. But Juke clearly still had these premonitions that he could get caught for what he's doing and that he deeply regrets it. And clearly the victim was further corroborating these sentiments, saying, "I think you already know how much I hate cancel culture and authority and anything like that. I do feel bad for what happened to Tree," which, if you're a real one and you've been on this channel for a while, you know exactly who that is, because I've exposed him as well. That video's unlisted for now, though. But he was genuinely a shit person and he deserved what came his way. I was scared to tell you that story because of the one single similarity of you and him. But the difference is, you're just a good guy wanting to meet his lover, and he was an asshole sexually harassing minors past the no. And again, this next screenshot will be important for later on, where Juke says, "I want to hug you, kiss you," with the victim saying, "I want that. I want it so bad. I feel like I'd be really anxious. I'm not that good with that stuff. I'm good at keeping my calm, but I'm gonna suck," whatever. And Juke saying, "I want to put my hands on you. I want to feel you," with the minor saying, "I want that more than anything. You can touch me and use me in any way you like," with Juke saying, "Hee hee." And again, for the 3rd time, this will be important later, where Juke said, "Should I bring clothes?" LMAO, like, to change into, or with the minor saying, "Duh," and Juke saying, "That was a trick question." Skipping ahead to what unfortunately had been coming for a while, we see Juke updating the victim on their position, clearly showing them heading into the victim's state, which is why you can see "welcome to" in the state that the victim lives in. It's really disturbing seeing this kind of stuff, because it not only shows that, yeah, there's actually the intent there, but that this 10-hour drive was actually being executed and given live updates to the victim to know where they were at all times. And then the moment of truth, with Juke saying 5, and the victim responding 5 minutes away, and then Juke saying yes, more like 2. And then we see something happen where the victim said, "Where are you going? Come back." And honestly, this literally just dawned on me while I'm saying this. I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing what a lot of people on Dateline did, which was drive by the house to make sure there are no cops waiting outside. Which usually whenever they do and they notice, they get caught anyways because they're fucking stupid. Obviously there were no cops in this case, and Juke was free to harm this minor. And this little drive-by was to see if there were any cops hiding around back or something. And then, silence. For about a day and a half, there were no words said until the next day at 3:18 p.m. where the victim said, "I got to my room and just broke down in tears. I've never been happier. I finally got what I always wanted." And then saying, "Thank you for being the biggest reason to keep going," with Juke responding, "I love you." The level of just sheer anger I felt when I first read this cannot be described as I'm speaking it right now. Juke, a 22-year-old man, took advantage of the clear emotional distress the victim was in at the time. I don't know the circumstances behind it. However, it's very clear that the fact that they said, "Thank you for being the biggest reason to keep going," shows how much of a stranglehold Juke had on this victim's emotions. And not to a level where Andrew had a grip on them over text chat, now Juke had it in flesh as well. What follows is a series of highly graphic details on what they did in their time together, as said by Juke and the victim. So if you'd like to skip this part, go to this timestamp. In this exchange, we can see Juke saying, "That's hot. You know what else is hot? Question mark?" With the victim saying, "The temperature," and Juke saying, "Yes. Or me ramming my cock into your ass. How stretched are you, by the way, hee hee." Mind you, this is to a 16-year-old with whom he had just illegally met up with across state lines. He then adds, "Next time I come over, I want to slide it in. I want to come in you. You understand?" Then, again, the minor clearly showing that they were in emotional distress before saying, "I've never felt more comfortable with anyone than I do with you, and your hoodie keeps reminding me of that. I love you," with Juke saying, "Aw, I love you." And then one of the most gut-wrenching sentences I've read in a long time. Not to discredit what happened in the Andrew files, this is completely different for a reason I can't get into, and this is a highly personal thing for me, whereas the Andrew files was something quite distant from me. Where Juke says, "I love you, baby. Man, I'll tell you, it was so nice having some cute toy to put my dick in. I miss it, hee hee." With the minor saying, "I do too, I really do. I wish I practiced before you came over," with Juke saying, "Hee hee, it's fine, baby. I stretched you out." And if this whole thing about them meeting up is something that you think I just made up, look at this. Juke sent 4 images, one of which being a cat for some reason, being him and the victim snuggling in bed, another one with his hand placed precariously near the victim's crotch, and then a picture of them holding hands in a restaurant. Let me clarify that there is absolutely nothing illegal in these logs. The victim made sure to scrub everything of theirs from the logs, and all of the pictures I just sent, none of them are NSFW or illegal in any way. They just go to show how fucking deranged Juke is. Here is an image of them cuddling with the victim completely scrubbed from the image. You can clearly see that the facial features match up with Juke, except for the fact that he doesn't have a beard, which he said that he needed to shave earlier in the log so the victim's mom wouldn't think he was actually 22. After this, within a week, the relationship gradually starts its slow and steady decline, as most relationships like this go. However, it didn't fully end until mid-January, as I said at the end. A lot more horrible things were said that I'm not going to include because I'm frankly exhausted at this point. Just know that even outside of what happened and after what happened in real life, that the relationship eventually fell apart and that the victim is safe right now. Just know that the victim is no longer within reach of Juke. The next part, however, is going to be about Juke's reaction when I brought this to him, as well as some of the things that someone, let's just say, in close contact with him, said about this whole situation. And frankly, it kind of still makes my blood boil to this day. So, after he had deleted his Twitter account for the second time, I got in contact with him on Discord and saying, did you or did you not visit the victim in real life? And he said, I did. I deleted my Twitter as you asked. And this dude, I'm pretty sure, also just changed his name again from Yin to Velvet. He then wrote this very long paragraph saying, I shouldn't have went. Clearly, I know that now. I knew it then. I never had doubts before I left. I'm not sure what to say. There's nothing I can. There's absolutely no excuse for what I did. I'm not trying to frame anyone or frame this as I'm not guilty. I know I am. I just want everything to be over. One friend told me not to make a video when I got banned. One friend told me to keep it private. And another told me to make a video talking about why I was banned. So I didn't say anything. I don't know why he even said that in the first place. I went to therapy, which, by the way, I got the dates wrong. I didn't start going to therapy till early December. I'm not sure why I told you in October, which is probably a fucking lie because I called him out on still behaving this way past October. And he said, I was stressing out ever since all that stuff went down and I've been bettering myself. Then, later, we actually ended up voice chatting and I got to confront him directly about his behaviors. I will provide an audio transcript of some of the things that he said. When, early in the call, I told him that what he had committed was statutory rape and that he had crossed state lines to have sex with a minor, he said, yeah, I understand. I then proceeded to ask him why the fuck he would bold-faced lie to me and say that he went over to the victim's house just to quote-unquote hang out. Then he had the balls to say, the stuff that happened, I don't know why it happened. So then I came sharply back and said, no, you do know why it happened. You're a grown fucking man. You know exactly what you were doing. Then he said, no, listen, that's not why I went there. He said he was there because the victim and him were friends, when there are lots of screenshots I've already shown that kind of disprove that. He further elaborates that when he left the house, his intention was just to hang out, and that's it. He continues, saying that they had grown close over the past few months of talking, when it was actually really just a month of talking, less than a month of talking at that point, and that they just wanted to hang out, watch a movie, whatever, like literally Chris Hansen type shit. I called him out on his bullshit, saying, no, I know everything you've said, you can't lie to me, essentially, and he said, well, what do I do? And from there, the conversation gradually spiraled out of control, at least on his part, to where he eventually agreed to turn himself in. This entire call had culminated in me convincing Juke to turn himself into his local police. And he really wanted to. He knew that if he turned himself in, that there would be a likely chance the punishment would be lighter than had he tried to hide from it. However, the morning after, let's just say I got some unfortunate news where someone, being this person in close relation to Juker, convinced him that somehow he had not broken any laws, because ignoring, first of all the shit he did in chat, which is already illegal and considered illegal under federal law, he crossed state lines from his home state to the victim's state, which means that everything he did falls under federal jurisdiction. However, this person in close relation to Juker, who most certainly is not a lawyer, convinced him that because the age of consent in both his own state and the victim's state is 16, that it's okay, that it doesn't matter, you can just sweep it under the rug. And while there might be some crazy ass idea going around this person's head that somehow on some website it's legal, the law often follows Occam's razor, which is essentially the idea that the most simple answer is often the most true. And according to CWSDefense.com, quote, while each state's legislature sets its own age of consent, crossing state lines does not grant a free pass. Crossing state lines to have sexual relations invokes federal law. The federal age of consent is 18. The fact this person, with close relations to Juker, decided to have the balls to tell me that anything I've said is libelous because he hasn't broken the law is simply baffling. According to Merriam-Webster, libel is a written or oral defamatory statement or representation that conveys an unjustly unfavorable impression. What I'm doing is the textbook definition of investigative journalism, Although I'm not a perfect journalist by any means, what I am doing is gathering evidence from sources who have given it to me. I have not gathered any of this evidence illegally, nor, as this person close to Juke has said, I have not been sitting on illegal evidence for months. I got this like less than a week ago. So now Juker, active and well on Discord, frequently changing his name, decided to send me one last correspondence after I tried to tell him that, no, this person is wrong, this is federal law, and you have broken the law. He said, just don't upload the video, or this will get worse for both of us. That's all. I suggest you listen to me. I don't know how old you are, but this will not end well. Please. There's a reason I just wanted to get therapy and move on. What I did was inexcusable, but I don't want to fight someone in court. So please, just don't upload the video. I'll leave Roblox. I'll delete my YouTube, which he already didn't. I don't know why he said that. And I'll continue therapy. But if you upload the video, I will go to the police about you. Good day. Never in my life have I seen such legal ignorance. That's not how the world works. You don't go to the police over somebody legally reporting on information they acquired legally. So no, I'm not going to release this video, and no, I'm not going to forget about what you did and let you just move on. You broke the law. I know you and the person that was corresponding with you are likely going to see this video. So, in that case, thank you for watching, and I hope you understand what I'm saying, that your ideas about how the law works in the United States are kind of fucking stupid. So, if you sat through the whole thing, remember what I asked you to do. 2 things. Do not, under any circumstances, blame the victim for any of this behavior. Like I said, I will block you and hide you from my channel. Second of all, please spread this video to literally everyone you know. Juke cannot and will not get away this time. He's done it before, and I won't let his slippery ass get through my hands again. But next up is a little bonus segment. It's kind of an apology to the Bad Business mods because there's a lot of miscommunication. I just want to clear up some of the things that happened. So, after the creation of the last video, a lot of people from the Bad Business community did contact me to talk about the incident. And I'll be the first to say, yeah, I judged a little too early, and I assumed that Bad Business was remaining quiet for weirdly specific reasons. However, it was really just because the victim who had a lot of the information wanted to remain quiet. Note that this victim was not the one shown in the video, it was someone else, and they just thought that they might have been the only victim with actual amounts of evidence, and they just wanted to stay out of it as much as possible. So please, I implore you not to go out and attack Bad Business or their moderating community, because this is a lot more, I guess, gray of a situation than I originally assumed, and many others assumed the same thing. But now that things have been cleared up, I'm happy to say that, yeah, Bad Business was not doing this maliciously. It was just out of the attempt, at least, to keep the victim's wishes intact, which was that their information would not be shared or, given out. And one more thing I want to mention, something really peculiar came up in this entire conversation, where the day after they had met, and not long after the first message was sent following their actual meetup, Juke said, "I'll explain when I'm home." One of the main developers, Phantom Forces, reached out to me and basically said, if I find out from anyone that this behavior is still happening, I will publicly hang you. And honestly, I am about 99% sure I know who this developer is. Based on other things going on around a month later, where Juke went to MFF, also known as Midwest Fur Fest, he talked about how much he hung out with AxisAngle, a very prominent developer who's also one of the main programmers on Phantom Forces. They clearly knew each other very well, and I have a lot of reasons to believe that this developer of Phantom Forces is AxisAngle. But instead of pulling what I did last video, which was assuming that what he did was out of malice, I simply pose this question directly to you, AxisAngle. You've seen how many pedophiles have gotten caught on this damn platform, and how many of them are let off and don't change. So why didn't you take the initiative to do something about this? Why didn't you notify people about this as openly as possible? I get you said you'd publicly hang him, but there's no evidence to back that up. And I'm pretty sure that the same shit came out in around December, where there was other things going on that people caught Juke for doing. So why didn't you do it then? I'm not asking you this out of hostility. I'm asking you this for a direct answer. If you want to talk, contact me at Screechy #3703. I just want to hear what you have to say. But other than that, if you made it all the way through the video, thank you. I know it was a long one, but every second of this video needs to be watched to ensure that Juke is completely and utterly guilty, at the very least under public conscience. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.